Alright, so we are on day 4 of the Algebra 1 Unit 1 lesson unit plan. And so the video is Unit 1 Lesson 3. The notes are Unit 1 Lesson 3. And we're going to be reviewing solving linear equations. This falls right in line with everything we've been doing so far. And so, yeah, we're going to solve linear equations today. Alright. When solving linear equations, the first step is always to distribute if you need to. We're trying to get rid of parentheses. Simplify the expressions on each side, which is basically combining like terms. You move variables to one side, and you move numbers to the other side, and then you solve for the variable. Important then is to analyze the solution. 95% of the time, it's just going to be one number. But there are some exceptions, and those are called all real numbers or no solution, and we'll go over those in a little bit. Alright, so we have some simple one-step linear equations here. You know, it's as simple as, okay, I subtract 3. I add 17. You know, fractions, we've talked about how to deal with those. You have to change them over to improper, so 2 times 5 plus 3. Uh, 1 times 2 plus 7 is negative 9 over 2. And then we can actually, all we have to do is subtract a negative 13/5. And so we can do that. In my calculator, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do negative 9 divided by 2, parentheses, minus 13 divided by 5, enter. I get negative 7.1. I hit math, enter. I get negative 71 over 10. And I got that from subtracting 13/5. Remember, watch double negatives. This is really x plus 6. So when I subtract 6, I get negative 20. Again, watch double negatives. So I'm going to add 2/9. Again, I'm going to come back to the calculator. 8 divided by 5 plus 2 divided by 9. I get that. And I hit math and enter, and I get 82 over 45. Negative 2.1, so I'm going to add 2.1. And I get negative 30.7. Remember, with division and multiplication, when you divide by a negative, you're going to be flipping your sign. So be careful here. So we have divide by 3, x is equal to 7. Divide by negative 10, x is equal to 3. Anytime you have a fraction, you're going to multiply to get rid of it. So I want you guys to go ahead and pause the video right now and try these 4. And when you unpause, you'll see the answers. So make sure you pause the video. Okay, so there's the 4 answers. I divided by negative 4. I multiplied by 5. I multiplied by negative 4. And I divided by 4/5. And again, you can see in the calculator how I handled dividing by 4/5. And then I hit math, enter, and change my answer to a fraction. So let's quickly talk about fractions. There are 4 ways to get rid of multiplication and division in a fraction. You can divide, You can multiply by the opposite. You can multiply by the denominator. And you can also set up a proportion. So let's look at all four of these ways and see what answer we get when we finish. Alright, so when I do 10 divided by negative 2/3 in the calculator, I get negative 15. Okay? So when I do the rest of these, I should get negative 15, but let's double check. When I multiply these two together, I get 1. When I do 10 times negative 3/2 in the calculator, I get negative 15. So far, so good. So we've divided, we've multiplied by the flip, and we've gotten the same answer. Now, let's talk about what happens when you just multiply by the denominator of the fraction. These 3's cancel out, so negative 2x is equal to 30. I divide by negative 2, I get x is equal to negative 15. So far, so good. If I create a ratio, negative 2 over 3 is equal to 10 over 1, and I cross multiply, I get negative 2 is equal to 30. I need to put that x there. And so then, as we just proved, x is equal to negative 15. So there's four different ways to solve fractions. You can divide by the original, multiply by the flip, multiply by the denominator to both sides, or set up a proportion. Either way, you're going to come up with the same answer. Go ahead and try this slide. Go ahead and pause the video and try this slide. And then when we come back, you'll have the answers and we can talk about them. Okay, so in the first one, you should have subtracted 17 first and then divided by 3 to get yourself negative 1. Alright, and for the second one here, I multiply both sides by 3 and b is equal to 12. For this one, I multiply both sides by 3, and then I had to subtract 15 and then distribute the negative. A is equal to 42. And then for the bottom right, you had to subtract 8 first, and then divide by negative 3/8. And k is equal to 32. We're going to skip these. We're going to go to two-step. So again, we're going to skip this slide. Just leave it blank. We might visit it in class. We're going to go to two-step equations, where you have to combine like terms on one side of an equal sign. And so if I have 15 and negative 7, that's going to be 6a plus 8 equals 18. And then we follow the same rules that we followed before. 6a is equal to 10, a is equal to 5/3. Go ahead and finish these three, and we'll check your answers. Pause the video. Okay, so we combine the ends, add 16, divide by negative 3, get negative 2. Combine the x's, add 2, divide by 6, get 4. Here we had to add y's and numbers. Add 13, divide by 2, get negative 18. Alright. Again, sometimes you have to distribute. So in order to do that, I take the negative 2 times both sides. I get negative 2x minus 6 equals 28. I add 6, divide by negative 2. I get x is equal to negative 17. As part of your classwork check, finish these three problems. And again, sometimes you not only have to move numbers across the equal sign, but sometimes you have to move x's across the equal sign. And so when I subtract 4x from 6x, I get 2x is equal to 10. I get x is equal to 5. For your classwork check, also complete these two problems, and we'll check them when you come into class the next day. Leave this one blank. We'll do that one together in class. Finally, I want to talk about what happens when there's not one solution. Okay, so we're going to talk about all reals, and there's the sign for that. So we call all real numbers. And then we're going to talk about no solution, and there's the sign for that. So let's go ahead and do this one on the left here. I get negative 6x minus 15 equals negative 2x plus 12. And actually this one's going to work out, I think. Negative 4x equals 27. Yeah. X equals negative 27 fourths. That one worked out. This one I know for a fact doesn't. So we get 2m plus 5 equals 5m minus 35 minus 3m. So we have to combine like numbers. When I do that, I get 2m plus 5. And then over here, the 5m and the negative 3m cancel out. And so what happens is I get a 2m minus 35. Well, when I go to move the m's, these are going to cancel out, and I finish up with 5 is equal to negative 35. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's look at this one. 3r plus 3 minus 5 equals 3r minus 2. 3 plus 3 and minus 5 gives me 3r minus 2, 3r minus 2. The 3r's cancel out, and I'm left with negative 2 is equal to negative 2. Now, when you get in this situation, this is an odd solution because it doesn't match our solution up here where we got an x is equal to a certain number. In these two solutions, the x's canceled out. When the x's or the variables cancel out, you have to look at your solution. If it's true, that is what we call all real numbers. If it's false, that's what we call no solution. So when you're doing your homework, you'll be mostly getting 95% of your answers will be a variable is equal to a certain number. But occasionally, you're going to get a situation where you'll have like 5 is equal to negative 35, or another number is equal to another number, and that's false. If a number ends up being equal to itself, that's all real numbers. No solution, all real numbers. Your classwork for this is going to be the review solving equations packet, odds or evens. We'll work on that in class. Don't forget to come to class with this completely filled out. So if there's any problems that I told you to do, and that's another one right there, make sure you've done those problems for full credit tomorrow in class. And then we'll go over them together as a group before you start your classwork. Any questions, come see me.